Hello everybody and welcome back to SaveEarth.us and artofdino.com. I have got a cool article today from 1805, January 25th, 1805 in the Inquirer from Richmond, Virginia. So it is a very cool one that I didn't know about and some of you may not have known about either. And Wikipedia will tell you differently, but I always like going to old articles before Wikipedia even existed because anyone can type into that, but the people back then seem to have a little bit more class than the people running Wikipedia, and so I trust them a little more, and they speak very eloquently and beautifully, and I love looking at these papers, and I know that these papers do not contain nothing but truth. They contain lies, they contain propaganda, just like every single thing ever, but it is still very interesting because it's from a different time, and that's what I like. So I want you to hear about this, the compass, an original invention of the Chinese Tartarians, and it is by an anonymous author, so that makes it all the more interesting. 1805, the time of resets and all kinds of craziness where we have been lied to about everything that happened during that time. So let's figure out what they thought about the compass because I found this interesting and I think you might too. And so I got a few pictures from Wikipedia, not including any information from them, but some of the pictures because they're pretty cool. That could be ancient Tartarian, who knows? I'll also include some interesting AI art to just spark the imagination a little bit. So here we go, the compass, an original invention of the Chinese Tartarians. The present system of Chinese navigation is to keep as near the shore as possible, and never to lose sight of land, unless in voyages that absolutely require it, such as to Japan, Batavia, and Cochin, China. Knowing the bearing or direction of the port intended to be made, let the wind be fair or foul, they endeavor, as near as possible, to keep the head of the ship always pointing towards the port by means of the compass. This instrument, as used in China, has every appearance of originality. The natives know nothing, from history or tradition, of its first introduction or discovery, and the use of the magnet for indicating the poles of the earth can be traced from their records to a period of time when the greatest part of Europe was in a state of barbarism. It has been conjectured, indeed, that the use of the magnetic needle in Europe was first brought from China by the famous traveler Marco Polo, the Venetian. That's the classic description, and as you know about history, they always have a story that is so much simpler than the reality, and they love the story, so that's what we all have to get through in this community. New York City was bought for like $10 and a stick of gum from some Indians. Columbus was by far the only one to ever see this land besides blah blah blah. Oh, those state houses are made out of plaster, and same with all the other things. It's a sentence they use to describe things that they want to hide, and they want to steer you away from the reality and truth behind. So this, I think, is another one. Europe was first brought from China by the famous traveler Marco Polo, who did everything. Same with Napoleon. They blame on him that entire several-year period of war and destruction, all this stuff. It's just total lies. They found the easiest way out, then they tell the kids in the school and everyone believes it, until now when we're all diving back in. But here we go. So they justify that Marco Polo theory by saying its appearance immediately after his death, or according to some, while he was yet living, but at all events in his own country, renders such a conjecture extremely probable. So just from word of mouth, that was the first thing they used it. But still, that could have been used by anyone that traveled in that area from Europe and did stuff, and whose story did not get told. They could have been all over the place, easily. They could have been selling them to people in Europe, and nobody just talked about it because they wanted to give Marco Polo the credit, and they wanted to just eradicate anything else. Who knows? I really don't know what the truth is around all of it, but I am questioning it, so I hope you guys do too. The embassies in which he was employed by Kublai Khan and the long voyages he performed by sea could scarcely have been practicable without the aid of the compass. And maybe the sextant, but you never know. Be this as it may, the Chinese were, without doubt, well acquainted with this instrument long before the 13th century. It is recorded in their best authenticated annals merely as a fact and not as any extraordinary circumstance that the Emperor Chung Ko presented an ambassador of Cochin, China, who had lost his way in coming by sea, with a ting nan tachin, a needle pointing out the south, the name which it still remains, ting nan chin. Even this idea of the feat of magnetic influence, together with the construction of the compass box, the division of the card into 8 principal points, and each of these again subdivided into 3, the manner of suspending the needle in its diminutive size, seldom exceeding in length 3/4 of an inch, are all of them strong presumptions of it being an original and not borrowed invention. By some, indeed, it has been conjectured that the Scythians, in the northern region of Asia, were acquainted with the polarity of the magnet in ages antecedent to all history, and that the virtue of this fossil was intended to be meant by the flying arrow presented to Abras by Apollo about the time of the Trojan War, with the help of which he could transport himself wherever he pleased. So wow, the antecedent to all history, the Scythians. They're basically assuming that it came from beyond the pole, and they're talking about it in this time period, whereas nowadays they're like, oh, we live on a sphere and there's nowhere else. At this time, they definitely pondered the idea of there being more land beyond the poles, and they always talk about the firmament during this time too, so their conception of reality and the structure of the universe was very interesting at best. But either way, this magnetic property, and referring to the magnetic pole, the Rupus Negra up at the top, the Scythians, where they all potentially came from, that in the poles, Poland, it's all in the language. The hints are all there. We just have to piece it together and find the toughest ingredients of that they've hidden so hard, which will basically piece it all together. It's like, but they leave certain things out, and certain parts that could connect, certain connections to this history are always so tough to find, and they are eradicated. So, but when we find them, we are going to piece it all together, because they definitely disjointed our history to make it disjointed and make it not make sense and make us not care too much about it. But either way, here's the final paragraph here, because the compasses, people were all over this world. There's no doubt about it. The compass could be something that's all over the area and the civilization north of the poles. It could be the easiest possible invention. Could have been invented 1,000,000 years ago, for all we know, in some other distant part of the universe. Shiva could have been carrying one on her Vimana. Who knows? But the last paragraph here says, the abundance of iron ores, and perhaps of native iron, in every part of Tartary, in the very early period of time in which the natives were acquainted with the process of smelting these ores, render the idea not improbable of the northern nations of Europe and Asia, or the Scythians, being first acquainted with the polarity of the magnet. And that's from Anonymous, and the Tartars always get in there. It's like it really is like something was known, something lingered and was still kind of known at this point, but was probably very well known in the preceding hundreds of years, etc. This history of Tartary and what its true power and purpose and mastery was, a level of mastery. It seems to be known because they always revere it and they always talk about it as if anything was possible during that time. So it's interesting. History isn't always just a build-up of technology. It is a wave that goes back and forth wherever is possible. The Janes, 6 billion miles wide, 6 billion miles high. That leaves us a lot of space and a lot of room for inventors that we have never even conceived of. Our little things in our culture could have traveled all over this universe. This massive plane of reality could have so much. We don't even know. We have no idea. And even this is another random thought I was thinking the other day. And I don't think it's true again, but it was just a random theory that popped into my head about there being, what if we are one of the last little bits, little pockets left of people like this and of people like humans and whatnot. And what if AI and different computer and computing technologies and things like that, or civilizations based on that computing and mechanisms and whatnot, the stuff that they're trying to push on all of us. They have all these ads of people that don't look human and all these weird AI things that are kind of popping out, almost as if they're pushing us towards something. And I was wondering, what if we were the last pocket of resistance left amongst a realm, or a huger realm, that was all taken over by these techies, and we're the last stronghold. Just a thought. I'd like to believe something a lot better and more beautiful, that there's just infinite playgrounds of culture all over this realm, all over, far beyond this realm, everywhere. It stretches beyond the imagination, with creation stories, myths, powers, potential, magic, physics that we can't even fathom, sciences we can't even think of, elements that we have no idea about, senses that we don't even comprehend. All of this stuff, I like to believe that, but that other idea popped into my head too, so I wanted to put it out there, because you never know in this world what the real truth is. What lies beyond those poles is such a mystery that all we can do is imagine and use our theories and power of imagination to push us to what could be, until we find out, which will make everything make sense and feel better for everyone, and we can finally know who we are in our true place in this massive and amazingly perfect universe. So either way, bless you all. Use a compass. Just make sure you know, because I think we all need to get in an airship one day and just go north and find out where all these compasses really lead, because that is a total mystery that nobody has proven, and today they could do it so easily. Take a compass, take a plane, put people on it, live stream it, boom, let's see what happens. It would be so easy. That's the telling part, is that it is so easy, and we haven't done it yet. None of these guys, Elon, none of them have touched this topic of going beyond the poles. And why is that? I wonder. They probably know. Who knows? Their parents are probably up there controlling it. They're probably a part of it, and they're the princes that get down here to play in this land, the playground, while all of us can't do anything because we're all poor and rotten from all the food they're making us eat. So who knows? This reality is a twist, and the compass points somewhere that we all need to find out the ultimate truth behind. So I hope we do someday, and leave your comments below. I'd love to hear what you all say in regards to all of this. So thank you so much from SaveEarth.us and artofdino.com. Bless you all.